Welcome to our online video tutorial class. So in the last video you have seen we have discussed about the transportation in plants. So in this video we will be discussing about the transportation mechanism in animals. So let's see in the animals, specifically in human, how the transportation mechanism is taking place. First of all, when the transportation in animals we have to discuss about that body fluid which is mainly responsible for the transportation. So specifically keep it in your mind that in our body there is a body fluid which is commonly known as blood. So that blood is mainly responsible for the transportation of various substances. So let's see the components of the blood. First, in case of blood, we can see there are two components mainly. One is blood plasma, that is the fluid or matrix portion of the blood, and the next, that is the cellular structure of the blood, that is blood corpuscles. So let's see whatever the constituents are present in the liquid portion and whatever the structures are present within blood corpuscles. First, within the blood plasma, the main constituent of the plasma is that water. 90% of the blood plasma is made up of water. With that, various kinds of proteins are there. Protein means various kinds of clotting proteins, blood clotting proteins are present, as well as example as an albumin, globulin, prothrombin. This kind of proteins are present. Again, I am repeating this point: albumin, globulin, prothrombin. These kind of proteins are present, as well as various kinds of enzymes are also present who are protein in nature. Next, you can see various kinds of hormones are also present. Hormones which are actually secreted by the endocrine glands, those are actually transported through the blood. They are present in very minute concentration, but after that also they are present in our blood. Next, digested food. After digestion, whatever the food is absorbed from the small intestinal portion, those digested foods are actually coming into the blood, and through blood those specific type of digested food will get distributed to each and every body part. Next, common salts. So various kinds of salts, bicarbonate salts, sodium, potassium, chloride, this kind of salts are also present in the blood plasma. Next, waste products are also present. Various kinds of excreted products all are getting transported through the blood. One point here, it is not written that you will include when you will be just writing down this one, that respiratory gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide is also passing through the blood plasma. So we have water, proteins, hormones, digested food, common salt, waste products and respiratory gases all are present within the blood plasma. Coming to the next, that is blood corpuscles. In the blood corpuscles specifically there are three kinds of corpuscles or cells are present. First one, that is RBC, second one, that is WBC, and third one, that is platelets. First, RBC, when we will talk about, first we have to know about the shape of the RBC. Specifically, shape of the RBC is disc shaped. RBC is disc shaped, and specifically starting from fish up to reptilia, or rather you can say up to the bird, the RBC is biconcave. But in case of specifically mammal, in case of mammal, that is biconcave, and starting from fish to bird, that is biconvex. So biconvex means actually the RBC surface is actually projecting outward. This is the biconvex shape. And in case of human being, that is biconcave. That means it is the surface of the RBC is projected towards inward. But all of the RBCs are disc shaped. Only in case of mammal, keep it in your mind, that is biconcave shaped. But remaining other organisms, those are all showing biconvex. Okay. Next point is that lifespan. In case of RBC, the common lifespan is 120 days. That means almost 4 months. Okay. Next, RBC is always containing a specific type of pigment. That pigment is commonly known as hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is actually containing one part, that is iron part, and that's why the hemoglobin is capable of carrying oxygen in various parts of our body, as well as carbon dioxide also from the various body tissues to the lung. Function, RBC is responsible for again transporting various gaseous substances, as an example oxygen and carbon dioxide. When RBC is transporting oxygen, on that time the name of the RBC, or rather hemoglobin, is commonly known as oxyhemoglobin, and when the RBC or hemoglobin is transporting carbon dioxide, on that time it is commonly known as carbaminohemoglobin. So we have to keep these two terminologies properly. When the hemoglobin is transporting oxygen, then the hemoglobin is known as oxyhemoglobin, and when it is transporting carbon dioxide, then it is known as carbaminohemoglobin. Next, we are moving for the type of blood corpuscle, that is WBC. What is WBC? WBC is white blood cells or leukocytes. Keep it in your mind, within the WBCs, two type of the cells are actually coming. One is granulocytes, another one is granulocytes. Keep it in your mind, based on the presence of granules, we have given this kind of names. In case of which cells the granules are present, those are commonly known as granulocytes. And in case of which cells the granules are totally absent, those are commonly known as agranulocytes. So let's see, granulocytes, within those three types of cells are coming. One is neutrophil, another one is eosinophil, and third one, that is basophil. Clear? Neutrophil, specifically it is responsible for engulfing various kind of pathogens. Eosinophil is specifically such kind of granulocyte cells or WBC cells. Normally when we are suffering from any kind of allergic infection, on that time eosinophil level is getting enhanced in our blood for fighting against the allergen. And third, basophil, this specific basophil is also getting increased during allergic reaction. Clear? If you go for the agranulocytes, we can understand within these specific cells granules are totally absent. That's why they are commonly known as agranulocytes. And these agranulocytes are commonly made up of two types of cells, monocytes and lymphocytes. Monocytes is actually such kind of cell who has the phagocytic capacity or engulfing capacity. They are actually getting modified into macrophage, and this macrophage is such kind of cell by which the various kinds of pathogens or bacteria which has entered in our bloodstream or in our body, those are get engulfed. Lymphocytes are such kind of blood cells or WBCs which are providing us immune system. Lymphocytes are responsible for producing the antibodies, and those antibodies are killing the various kinds of pathogens. Next point, structure. WBC is commonly rounded shaped structure, and they are containing one to multiple nucleus. Okay, based on that, these two categories we have also made. Those multiple nucleus are there. As an example, neutrophil is commonly known as polymorphonucleus. Polymorphonucleus means various kinds of morphological structures can be shown by the neutrophil only. Function, obviously WBC is providing the immune system to us during any kind of allergic infection, during any kind of pathogen has entered in our body, or any kind of virus has entered our body, or every kind of immunity by providing antibodies, by attacking the allergen, by engulfing the pathogen. Every kind of immunity is provided by these WBC cells. Almost few months their lifespan is. Next one, that is platelets. Platelets is such kind of dead cell present in the blood. They are smaller circular shaped cells, and exclusively keep it in your mind, their function is to clot the blood. If any wound will happen, external wound, obviously not the internal wound. If any external wound will happen, that's specific from the wound side. When the blood is oozing out, or if blood is just expelling out, that specific oozing out process will be blocked by these platelets, because those platelets with some WBC cells are getting deposited there and forming a mesh-like network, so that the other kind of blood cells, as an example RBC, they can't come out, and automatically blood will be getting clotted by the help of platelets. Next, we are going for the point, that is functions of the blood. We all know whatever the functions of the blood, because already we have discussed in the transportation process. Blood is mainly responsible for transporting various kind of respiratory gases, as an example oxygen and carbon dioxide. They are responsible for transporting various enzymes who are acting in different locations. They are responsible for transporting hormones who has to go to various target organs, based on which our metabolic process, our developmental process, our growth process, our sexual reproductive process, those all things are dependent. Next, our food, which is get digested. After that, that will be distributed to each and every body tissue, body organ, by the help of blood. Various body organs, various body tissues are producing the nitrogenous waste materials, and those excretory waste materials are coming back to the kidney due to the presence of blood only, because blood is also taking the charge of carrying the waste materials, as well as various kinds of common salts, minerals, those are also getting transported by the help of blood, as well as due to presence of various kinds of cells like WBCs. They are responsible for providing immunity to our body. They are fighting against the pathogens. That's why, and due to presence of platelet-like cells in the blood, our blood is also getting clotted if any external wound will happen. So these are the overall importance or overall functions of the blood, which is generally shown, or which is generally can be seen. Next we will be discussing, okay, we have understood about the fluid that is blood, but how this blood is transporting. Obviously our circulatory system is a closed circulatory system. That means there should be presence of some vessel-like or tube-like structure through which the blood will be transporting to each and every body part or body organ or body tissue. So let's say whatever the types of tubes or vessels are present. Mainly there are three types of vessels are commonly present. One is artery, second one is vein, and third one is capillary. Let's see whatever the differences are actually present in between these three. Keep it in your mind, the blood always, whatever the blood which is coming out from the heart and getting distributed to the body tissue, that is the oxygenated blood. And keep it in your mind, this oxygenated blood is strictly transported by this artery. And in opposite, from various kind of body tissues, whatever the carbon dioxide containing blood is coming to the heart, that is transported by the help of vein. That means artery is always responsible for carrying the oxygenated blood and vein is responsible for carrying carbon dioxide containing blood. Next, artery lumen is very narrow in respect to vein, but the vein lumen is quite broader. Why? Because in case of artery, if you see the wall structure, that is wall is very thick, because it has to continuously contract and relax for flow of the blood. But in case of vein, the lumen size is bigger. Why? Because their wall is very thin, because they don't have to contract and relax for transportation of the blood, because blood is moving through the vein in a very slow speed. So this is the third point we can write in through the artery when the blood is moving. Obviously due to the pumping of the heart, the flow of blood or the speed of blood is quite higher. But in case of vein, when the blood is flowing through the vein, the transportation of the blood or the flow of the blood, or rather the speed of the blood, is very low. Next, in case of artery, we can see there is no valve-like structure present. Why? Because when the blood is flowing through the artery, there is a huge speed or velocity. So for that reason, there is no chance of backflow of the blood. But when the blood is flowing through the vein, on that time obviously there is a presence of valve, because there is no such kind of speed is present. That's why the blood can move towards back. That means backflow can happen. That's why the valves are actually present. Next, these are the differences in between the artery and vein we have understood, but except that there is another blood vessel or another structure, that is capillary. When the arteries are going to the various kind of body tissues, after going there, the arteries are broken down, or it will be just distributed into multiple arterioles, as well as whatever the veins are coming out from the body tissues, those veins are also distributed into venules. So these arterioles and venules, arterioles are entering within body tissue, venules are releasing from the body tissue. So these arterioles and venules are making mesh-like network on the surface of each and every body organ and body tissue, through which exchanges of various materials like digested food, respiratory gases, excretory materials, those are happening. Okay, so there are those mesh-like network which has been formed due by the help of arterioles and venules. Those are commonly known as capillary. So capillary is quite fine structure than the artery and vein. Keep it in your mind. Difference in between artery and vein we have to study. With that, the capillary also we have to study the definition. The accumulation of arterioles and venules are actually making the capillary structure. Next point we will be discussing here, that is the evolution of heart. How the heart has been evoluted. If you see, starting from fish, because vertebrate organisms are starting from fish. So if you see the fish, specifically they are containing two chambers. One is atrium, another one is ventricle. And keep it in your mind, the ventricle is the upper chamber and atrium is the lower chamber. But normally in heart, atrium is the upper chamber, ventricle is the lower chamber. But in case of fish, that is only reverse. With that also, sinus venosus and conus arteriosus. Again I am repeating this point. Sinus venosus and conus arteriosus, these two type of structures are also present in the fish heart. And keep it in your mind, in case of fish heart, only the venous blood is for transporting. That means carbon dioxide containing blood is transporting. That's why their heart is commonly known as venous heart. Okay. Next, when the fish is modified into amphibia, it has been found their atrium, okay, has been segmented into two chambers, but the ventricle remaining one, and for that reason they are containing three chambers. Keep it in your mind, through the left atrium oxygenated blood is coming, through the right atrium carbon dioxide containing blood is coming, and in the ventricle when both will enter, that oxygen and carbon dioxide containing blood is getting mixed, and from there mixed blood is getting transported to the body tissue. Okay, so for that reason in case of amphibia there are three chambers. After amphibia, when the reptilia has come, you can see there are 3.5 chamber. Why 3.5 chamber I am talking about? Because atrium is totally divided into two different chambers, left atrium and right atrium, but ventricle is partially divided into two chambers. Okay, not totally divided, because interventricular septum or intraventricular septum that has been just started formation. So that's why that 3.5 chamber, we can say upper 2, the 2, and in between 3, total that is 3.5. That's why 3.5 chambers are present in red here. There is also the problem of mixing the oxygenated and carbon dioxide containing blood. At last, bird and mammal, if you see, the 4 chambers are totally differentiated. Left atrium, right atrium, left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle. So 4 chambers are strictly divided by the septum. Auricles are divided by interauricular septum, ventricles are divided by interventricular septum, and ventricles are also divided by auricular ventricular septum. So those structures I will be showing you just after this point. So I think the evolution of the heart, how it has been happened, we have understood. One thing we have to keep it in our mind: in case of bird and mammal, there is no chance of mixing the oxygenated and carbon dioxide blood like fish, amphibia and reptilia. Okay, here from the left atrium the oxygenated blood is entering through the left ventricle, it will move out, and from the right atrium carbon dioxide containing blood is entering, and through the right ventricle it will move out. Okay, so there is no chance of mixing, no opportunity of mixing. Moving for the next point, that is heartbeat and pulse rate. What is heartbeat rate? We always keep it in our mind that our heart is continuously beating in such kind of rhythm. Why? Because continuously the blood has to be pumped by the help of heart. Because in our body, if anybody will ask you what is the pumping station, obviously our answer will be heart. Because blood is pumped throughout the entire body due to presence of heart. So when the heart is pumping, that means contraction and relaxation continuously is happening in their atrium and ventricle. So for that reason, that specific time of beats or time of contraction and relaxation per minute, that is commonly known as heartbeat rate. In case of common healthy individual human being, 70 to 72 times beating can be found or can be just determined in per minute. And when we are doing any strenuous job or when we are doing any kind of exercise, on that time this rate of beating, it will get increased. It is actually up to 100 times, or even it can cross 100 times per minute also, heartbeat rate. And what is pulse rate? Pulse rate is that when the heart has beaten or heart is continuously beating, and for that reason when the blood is coming out from the heart, then the blood is passing through the arteries. And when the blood is passing through the arteries, blood is also continuously providing the pressure to the inner wall of artery. And if we will touch in the wrist portion, or if we will touch to the ankle portion, or if we will touch to this portion, that means in the neck portion, right hand side or left hand side, then obviously we can understand that blood is continuously giving the pressure on the arterial wall. And that specific pressure is commonly known as blood pressure, we all know, but that specific pressure has also a rate per minute that is also vibrating. That arterial wall is vibrating for the 70 to 72 times, because one heartbeat is equals to one pulse rate. Automatically, if the heartbeat is 70 to 72 times, that is range per minute, automatically pulse rate will be also 70 to 72 times per minute. And obviously we will be measuring the pulse rate obviously by using these two fingers. We will touching these two finger or three fingers rather in the wrist region. By one finger we will blocking the flow of blood. By another finger we will be trying to measure the time of vibrations per minute, and by another last finger we will be just nullifying the pressure, which is nullifying the flow of the blood from both of the sides. So for that reason, 2 to 3 fingers we are using for measuring the pulse rate. And pulse rate is the how many times the blood is providing the pressure, or just providing the pressure on the arterial wall. That is only the pulse rate. Now we will be coming to the next point for this video, and rather we can say that is the last point, that is the structure of heart and the flow of blood through the heart. First of all, we will be discussing about the structure of heart. First, there are 4 chambers already I have told: left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. Lower 2 chambers are ventricle, upper 2 chambers are atrium. Keep it in your mind, if I will just stand beside the heart, automatically this will be left atrium, this will be right atrium, this will be left ventricle, this will be right ventricle. So according to that I have drawn. When you will draw, keep it in your mind, your right hand side chamber will be left and your left hand side chambers will be right. That thing we have to keep it in our mind. Now the point is, In this structure of the heart, keep it in your mind, both of the atrial chambers are differentiated by a membrane or septum that is known as interauricular septum, and both of the ventricles are separated or differentiated by a wall that is commonly known as interventricular septum. Next, in between both of the atrium and ventricle, that means in between left atrium and left ventricle, there is left auriculoventricular septum or membrane, it is present here, and between right atrium and right ventricle there is also another septum, that is right auriculoventricular septum. So in between atrium, interauricular septum, in between ventricles, interventricular septum, and in between auricle and ventricle, if it is left, then it is left auriculoventricular septum, if it is right, then it is right auriculoventricular septum, nothing else. Now, in between left atrium and left ventricle, obviously septum is present, and with that, within the septum one small aperture is also present, which is commonly covered by a door-like structure or cusp-like structure. So that specific valve or cusp-like structure is commonly known as bicuspid valve or mitral valve. And in case of right atrium and right ventricle, in between them, there is also one aperture which is covered by a valve-like structure which is commonly known as tricuspid valve. Now the point is, inside the ventricle, throughout the inner wall of the ventricle, there are several muscular-like or tendon-like structures are present. Those are commonly known as chordae tendineae. Chordae tendineae, that is the tendon-like structure or muscle fiber-like structure which are present at the inner wall of the both of the ventricles. Why? Because due to presence of those specific chordae tendineae, only the ventricles can pump out the blood, because always keep it in your mind that in case of heart, whatever the chambers are responsible for pumping the blood, that is ventricle. Atrium is not taking any role in this pumping of the blood. So ventricle has to be more muscular, more thick wall containing, so that it can pump out the blood towards outside. Now next thing is that in the left atrium, always keep it in your mind, from the both sides three pulmonary veins will be opening. Keep it in your mind, from the both sides three pulmonary veins will be opening into the left atrium. From the left atrium, so obviously keep it in your mind, through these pulmonary veins the oxygenated blood is entering within the left atrium. Okay, oxygenated blood, and you can see there are three apertures from these pulmonary veins and these three apertures from these three pulmonary veins. After entering within the left atrium, when the left atrium is filled with the blood, it will squeeze, that means it will contract. Just it will contract, automatically blood will start coming within the ventricle by opening the bicuspid valve. So just the bicuspid valve will open, the blood will start coming within the left ventricle, and when the blood has entirely come into the left ventricle, then this bicuspid valve will remain getting closed. Why closed? Because if it will not get closed, automatically blood can backflow. So for that reason, that valve is getting closed. And always keep it in your mind, the valve is opening towards a single direction only, like our door. So when the blood has come to the left ventricle next squeezes or contract. Just it will contract, the blood will start entering within a specific structure that is commonly known as dorsal aorta. And another one important information is that there is when the blood, that is oxygenated blood, is entering within the dorsal aorta, there is also a small aperture that is commonly known as semilunar valve. Okay, so that specific, through the semilunar valve, the oxygenated blood will be entering within dorsal aorta, and when that semilunar valve is present in the aorta, it will be commonly known as aortic semilunar valve. Aortic semilunar valve. So through the aortic semilunar valve, the oxygenated blood will enter within the dorsal aorta. Now the point is, just the blood has entered within the dorsal aorta, again the aortic semilunar valve will also get closed. Why? So that the blood will not come towards the ventricle again, to resist the backflow. Now the blood will pass through the dorsal aorta and it will come towards downward through the back side of the heart. This is the dorsal aorta, I can show here. This is the dorsal aorta, so through the back side it has come towards downward, and through the downward it will be going towards the lower portions. And one important thing, keep it in your mind, that here also there are few artery-like structures are also present. Here also the artery-like structures are also present. Through those specific arteries, the blood can move towards the upward direction, that is oxygenated blood. So keep it in your mind, through this dorsal aorta, when the oxygenated blood has released out, through these arteries it will move towards the upper body parts, and through, when the dorsal aorta has come down, through this dorsal aorta it will be moving towards the lower body parts, that oxygenated blood. So oxygen has reached to each and every body part. Now the point is how the carbon dioxide also is coming to the heart. Next, From various kind of body tissues, various veins are actually carrying the carbon dioxide containing blood. From the lower body parts, all of the veins, whoever are carrying the carbon dioxide containing blood, they are all getting accumulated to a broader tube that is commonly known as inferior vena cava. This is the inferior vena cava. So in this inferior vena cava, from various veins from downward, they has come and they have just get associated with each other and forming this tube, inferior vena cava. Another also vena cava is there, which is actually carrying all of the carbon dioxide containing blood from various veins which are coming from upward direction. So this is the superior vena cava. This one I am showing, this is the superior vena cava. Keep it in your mind, this inferior vena cava is opening through this aperture and superior vena cava is opening through this aperture. And through these two apertures, the carbon dioxide containing blood is entering to the right atrium at first. After entering within the blood, within the right atrium, when the right atrium will get filled totally, obviously these two specific type of apertures are also enclosed or it is guarded by the valves so that the blood will not backflow towards the superior and inferior vena cava. Now the point is, when the right atrium is totally get filled, it will start squeezing, that is contracting. Just it will contract here, the tricuspid valve it will get opened like a door and blood will start flowing towards the right ventricle. And when the blood has totally come within the right ventricle after a certain time, when it is get filled, this specific tricuspid valve has got closed. Why? Because again same reason, to resist the backflow of the blood. Now when the blood has come to the right ventricle is filled with the blood and it will start squeezing, that means it will start contracting. Just it will start contracting, it will enter within the pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary artery, see the pathway carefully. This is the pulmonary artery, and through this pathway it will be getting diverged into two different ways, left hand and right hand way. Okay, this is from here the blood has come and through this pathway it has moved outside through the pulmonary artery. Keep it in your mind, in this also there is in the mouth there is also another aperture is present which is guarded by a valve, and this valve is also known as semilunar valve, and this specific semilunar valve is connected with the pulmonary artery. That's why it is commonly known as pulmonary semilunar valve, and that was aortic semilunar valve. So the carbon dioxide containing the blood through the pulmonary arteries, they will go to the lung. And one point I have not told initially, the oxygenated blood which has come through the pulmonary veins, those have come from the lung obviously. So from the lung through the pulmonary veins, the oxygen is coming here, and from here the carbon dioxide containing blood through the pulmonary artery is going towards the lung. So this is actually the connection in between the heart and lung, and like that that blood is getting transported throughout in between the lung and heart, and from the heart to body tissue. So I think the entire structure of the heart as well as the chamber structures as well as how the blood is just flowing, that we have understood properly. One more point I want to say here, that is the covering of the heart. The covering of the heart is commonly known as pericardium. This pericardium is divided into two different layers, that is outer pericardium and inner pericardium or visceral pericardium, and in between these two pericardium there is a specific space that is known as pericardial space, and that pericardial space is commonly containing a fluid, that is pericardial fluid. So the covering of the heart, that is pericardium for protection of the heart, and that is containing two layers, one is external and another one is internal, and in between these two layers there is a space that is known as pericardial space, and that space is occupied by a fluid, that is pericardial fluid. So I think this entire point or entire portion, whatever I have discussed here, that is the structure of the blood, that is blood components, then function of the blood, blood vessel types with their differences, evolution of the heart structure, flow of blood through the heart as well as heartbeat and pulse rate, we all have understood properly. I think you have understood this video, each and every point properly, and you have enjoyed this video a lot. Thank you everyone.